The whole concept of champagne finance came up however many years ago when it used to be a holiday for me whenever FEC reports were posted quarterly, when I would pop a bottle of wine with my roommates and just go through our opponents' reports and be like, what stupid shit do they spend money on now?
Hi, everyone. It's Monique Alcala, longtime campaigner, big fan of democracy, and your host for My First Race, the show where we talk with the country's top politicos about their very first campaign. Hey, everyone. So today we have a really exciting holiday episode, if you can't tell from my very festive hat. But before we get to introducing our first guest, I'm going to tell you a little story about a work trip that I took back in, I think, 2023 to New Mexico. It was me and a colleague, and we had rented a car that I think we thought was going to be functional as we took our, I think, four-hour trip from Albuquerque out to Silver City out through the mountains in New Mexico. So as we're driving along from Albuquerque, mind you, early in the morning, we start to notice that this car is starting to really suck up the gas. And we're, I don't know, a couple of hours into our drive, and we're like, okay, we might need to stop at a gas station. Realize that we're, I don't know, 25% up a mountain and like are pretty much out of gas. And so we had to literally turn around. We ran out of gas and we had to I think we put the car in neutral, and we just started by sheer, like just with gravity, ended up floating into a gas station, which honestly looked derelict at the time. But lo and behold, to our luck, it was open, and we were able to put gas in the car, and we made it out to Silver City. I think we were just a little bit late to our meeting, but anyway, the person that was on that trip with me was our guest today, which is Kimberly Wilke, who is a campaign finance fundraising extraordinaire who I've known for several years now. And we're here to do a really fun holiday special for you today. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. The one thing I always remember about that gas station is the knife collection they had on sale.
They had so much stuff, and like the weird bathrooms that you had to walk like all the weird
Through the
ways.
laundromat too.
Yes.
But, shout out to Gravity. We made
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember just like, what are we going to do? Do we have to push? Are we going to have to push this car?
I was really annoyed that we found out from the candidate we were meeting with that there was a completely flat way that we could have gone that didn't include going up a 60-degree angle on a mountain, and that only took 20 minutes longer.
But what fun would that have been? And what story would we have to keep with us for the rest of our lives? And also the trauma forever.
I mean, at least you were driving. It would have been a lot more traumatic if I had been.
Oh my gosh. I was definitely worried about us running out of gas, which we definitely did. But yeah, thanks for joining us on this podcast called My First Race. Usually how we like to start things off is hear about your personal background and what brought you into politics and why you're here today.
Sure. So I jokingly, but not so jokingly, tell people that my entire career was a mistake. I have an English lit and theater degree. My whole plan was I was going to stay in Madison for a year after college, earn money, move to New York, and work in book publishing. So there is an alternate timeline where that exists. And then a year out of college, I'm like, I just need a job with health insurance.
Mhm.
And then I was tour guiding at the state capitol, and I had met friends through my volunteer work with Planned Parenthood during the previous year's election. And they're like, oh, this legislator is hiring. I'm like, all right, cool, sign me up. State health insurance. Great, love it. And then at the end of the session, I had no idea what I was going to do. I'm like, do I want to stay in partisan politics? What's going on? And then I ended up going to work for Emerge in Wisconsin, the training organization for Democratic women. And my executive director and now mentor had been a congressional fundraiser all over the country for the past 20 years and basically told me, I'm going to teach you everything I know. And I'm just like, okay. I just went with it. And she started me out with, all of the basic finance assistant stuff, donor research, which I found out I really love because I am nosy as hell. So going into people's financial records, oh, that's really interesting. And then eventually she got me to a point where she's like, all right, you're organizing your own event. You're doing the call time, you're doing the donor list, you're doing everything. And I still remember in our little basement office doing call time with a Bloody Mary next to me on the desk because I was so nervous. I'm like, no one's gonna answer the phone for me. But I called through my list and I finally got one person who's like, yeah, I think I can do it. It was like $250 or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And I just remember putting down the phone and being like, holy shit, someone wants to give me money. This is amazing. So after that, I kind of bounced around the country for however many years, however many moves that was. I'm just fundraising for various races, everything from school board up to gubernatorial and congressional races. And the reason I'm still in this industry is because I figure if I'm going to wake up every day angry anyways, I might as well be doing something about it. And also, there's nothing quite like going to the mailbox and seeing just a fat stack of checks in there.
That's great. I really feel like one of the best feelings in the world is being able to raise the money that you can for running a proper campaign.
That's why I tell people, like, my win record is not necessarily as important as a campaign manager's win record. I'm like, my job is not to win the campaign. My job is to raise the amount of money you told me to raise. However you want to spend it is your business. Uh, so I'm like, I've done my job and I've done my job well.
That's awesome. Was there anything in particular, like a moment that you just decided that you wanted to definitely stay in campaigns?
Um, During COVID, it was kind of like I knew 2020 was gonna be my last year on the road because 'cause I'm like, I can't keep moving every 8 months. I'd like to have a permanent address, but I'm like, what do I want to do? What am I good at? Do I go into the nonprofit sphere? And I'm like, well, is there anything I care enough about to actually want to fundraise for? And I kind of had this tipping point where I had taken a temp job because it was COVID, it was remote. We're doing what we gotta do to get by. And they had offered me a permanent gig, and it had incredible benefits, really good starting salary, really good progression. I could move up very quickly. I knew the company. I'd worked for them on and off for several years. And I just remember looking at this offer and being like, "Oh, I'm just going to give it one more shot and see like who's hiring in the campaign sphere." And I told them, I'm like, I had plans for the summer, but let's circle back in the fall. And they were cool with that. And so I'm just like, let's give it one more shot. And I ended up in the position I am today, which shockingly, I'm still here realizing that I actually do love this work. And also, finance is great because I get to be a little finance goblin and just sit in the basement with my spreadsheets. And then, every so often pop out in my Sunday best and go talk to donors, but I don't have to knock doors and I don't have to go outside. So,
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, Kimberly and I worked together on quite a few races, and Kimberly was the one who really turned the ship around on so many different races. And Kimberly, has there ever been a kind of a nightmare situation? And we don't have to talk about who the candidate is, but like what that turnaround kind of looked like.
I'm trying to figure out if you're talking about a specific candidate in particular. There have been several races over my career where, get 2 weeks notice, you move across the country, you drop in, and then 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. No one here really knows what they're doing. What are all these consultants for? What does the candidate think the priorities are? I did have one in particular where, again, I knew nothing about the candidate, but we had had a couple phone calls. I got really good vibes. I drove into the city. It was a couple hours away from where I was living. I'm like, I can do this. And then I landed on the ground and I'm like, oh, I don't want to say got me through, but like kind of turned the tides is just, I mean, you all know spending hours and hours in the call time room with a candidate. The finance staff usually become the closest with them because, we're locked in a room for 40 hours a week or whatever it happens to be. And I really think using that time in between calls to really build trust with a candidate and doing, you know, giving her good lists and coaching her through things. And she's like, oh, okay, this is someone who actually knows what they're talking about. So we did have to make some changes, some personnel changes, some strategy changes, but we had built up that trust level to a point where literally on a drive from, I don't want to say where we were because that'd tell you who it was, but we were on a several-hour drive in between events together and just cruising down this gorgeous highway and having, like, a really in-depth conversation about what do you want out of this campaign, and do you think the way we're currently going is going to get you there. And she's like, honestly, this is not what I thought it would be. She was a first time candidate, didn't really know what to expect. And I'm like, all right, well, let's delve a little deeper into that. And because, again, we'd spend hundreds of hours together at this point, she was totally fine opening up to me. And I could really kind of, I don't say get into her head because that sounds manipulative, but be like, well, in campaigns I've worked in the past, this is what has traditionally worked. And these are things I'm certainly willing to try, but maybe we should consider X, Y, and Z. So I think ultimately it always comes down to the candidate is the person who has the final say because it's their name on the ballot and it's their race and they're the ones on the phone raising the money. So it's all about having to make yourself a trusted voice to that one person.
Did you sing show tunes to the candidate while y'all were on the road?
I honestly think I did, and I think I remember getting really annoyed that she misidentified something from a chorus line as Chicago, and I'm like, "How could you even make that mistake? I don't understand that."
For those that don't know, Kimberly has a very wide knowledge of show tune lyrics, and I don't even know how to describe it, but very, very impressive. Hours spent on the road with Kimberly, realizing this is one of her talents.
Aren't you glad I made you listen to the Legally Blonde cast album how many times?
Oh my gosh, forever grateful. So, what was your first campaign? Was it separate from Emerge?
My first official full-time campaign gig was deputy finance director on the state Supreme Court race for Judge Joanne Kloppenberg in 2016. And I feel like I got so spoiled on that race for having such an incredible candidate.
Love that.
I have never, I mean, you will attest, candidates who actually enjoy doing call time,
Mm.
one in a million. There was one week where I think I was traveling, I had to go out of town, something was going on, but I wasn't going to be, like, in office for a couple of days, so I pulled her a call list. I pulled, like, 500 calls for 1 week, and she called me on Wednesday night and said, "I know you're out, but I just wanna let you know I've gone through all of the calls that you wanted me to do. What do you want me to do for the next couple of days before you're back?" And I just wanted to be like, "Relax, please." Um It was also a great learning opportunity for me because in Wisconsin, judges are not allowed to ask for money directly. They're not allowed
Mhm.
to solicit contributions. So figuring out how she would make her pitch to a potential donor, and then I would have to come in with the ask was terrifying. Being like, oh, by the way, can you give us $5,000? Never asked for that much money before. But it was kind of a throw in on the deep end. I will admit I messed a lot of things up because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I still have lifelong friendships from my fellow staffers on that race, and if I ever get married, I'm going back to Madison and having Judge Kloppenberg marry me because she is fantastic.
That's awesome, man. I wish I had that same experience of some my first candidate actually liking call time.
Yeah. We only accidentally ended up in the wrong state twice.
How did so that it's still like that to this day, where judicial candidates can't ask directly for money?
In a lot of places it is. There's various regulations in various states. Some they just cannot directly say, "Can you give me $1,000?" There are some where they can kind of hint around to it. Well, it'd be really great if I had an extra $1,000 for the campaign, and some
Mhm.
states are a little lax on that.
Mhm.
And there are some places where they aren't even allowed to be in the same room where a solicitation is being made.
Wow.
So that's always one of the first questions I have to ask whenever I'm working with a new judicial candidate in a new municipality or state. I'm like, so what exactly are the rules? Because even though we say FEC jail is real jail, state campaign finance jail is real jail too.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I know that we have some funky laws here in Texas too.
State by state, municipality by municipality, some of the laws are just absolutely bonkers, and some of them were clearly made in like 1837 and just have never been updated,
Yeah.
which is why we need comprehensive campaign finance reform.
Oh my gosh, what a concept. But until then, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I've become somebody that's like, well, we can't unilaterally disarm. In fact, we have to take advantage of all the ways that we can raise money.
Well, I will be the first person to tell you my entire goal in life is for my entire industry to go out of business. Uh, like I want to, I think they call it organizing your way out of a job.
Yeah, but not through AI, which apparently is happening in probably the worst way possible, by displacing workers, and not even in like a good way.
I have a whole rant about that, but I don't know if we have time for that with this episode.
Hmm.
how AI there's a lot of really cool, interesting concepts and companies and tools that are emerging. And as someone who, is very work smarter, not harder, none of them have impressed me yet.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
think about all of the destruction we're doing to the economy and to the environment just to have poorly written emails and incorrect phone numbers and bad information.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I've been an AI skeptic. It's funny. So there's two long documents that I've written recently. One of them is 27 pages. The other one was about 7 pages. And I had a donor write me back and say, thank you for the update. Did you use AI to write this or any part of it? And I was like, no, I'm not. And I still like am self-conscious about sending out this memo, this update memo that I wrote that again, only 7 pages, by putting like a little disclaimer that says no AI was used to generate any part of this. It's all completely original thought.
like, I'm offended both as a fundraiser and as a writer because none of it's good. Like, the
Mhm,
quality of the product is just not worth it,
mhm.
um, on so many levels. And also, if I ever had my writing compared to AI,
Yeah.
my I would quit my editorial work.
Yeah.
Just be like,
Well,
"I have
that's
to
the thing at the very end, he was like, "But it's really good." It's like, I did not take it as a compliment. It's like, "No, you not think I'm that smart or what?"
like, I used spell check,
Mhm.
and that's about it.
Yeah, I had somebody copy edit it like a normal person.
I'm like, "No, I've actually been using semicolons properly for 20 years."
Yeah, yeah. I do love the M dash though. I mean, I feel like it's been appropriated by AI stuff or
Same. Um, M dashes, semicolons, regular colons. Again, I have a whole other rant about punctuation we could go into.
yeah.
Um, and apparently AI has caught on to the whole pluralizing with apostrophe S, which again, a whole another rant for another day.
Well, for our really fun holiday special, which nobody who's just listening can see, I have this really great silver sequin hat on. And we are going to do a segment called, and this is not my thought, that I'm giving full credit to Kimberly, called a segment called Champagne Finance. I've got my little champagne here. You can see in the thing. So, what we're going to do is we're going to have Kimberly talk through a couple of things, like some of the most egregious, maybe campaign finance. And they're not quite violations.
Interesting things we've come across over the years.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So, welcome to Champagne Finance, a segment where Kimberly Wilke, campaign finance extraordinaire, goes through some of the most interesting findings that in campaign finance reports across the country.
Okay.
Handing it over to you, Kimberly.
We will start with one of my all-time favorite stories as I pour my champagne into a coffee mug. Cheers.
Cheers.
Back in 13, Democratic state legislator Brett Hulsey in the state of Wisconsin used his campaign funds to buy a Volkswagen convertible. It was a 1987 Volkswagen convertible. But he did write to the Government Accountability Board in advance to say, well, I need it to go to parades because other candidates have cars for parades and I need a parade car. Apparently, though, it was a clunker, so it only cost him like $1,200. But his district was also like this big. So
Mm.
I don't know how many parades he was going to. Um, but yeah, I'll just the headlines of this bright, shiny red convertible with Brett Hulsey smiling in front of it. And like, that's where your donor money is going.
Oh, wow. Have they made a fix to that yet?
Not that I've seen, but also there have been so many overturns in the Wisconsin Government Accountability Board and Wisconsin
Mm.
Election Commission since. I don't think anyone else has tried it since.
Yeah, because why would you buy a car with money that donors have given you?
Well, especially because if I recall correctly, Madison is a very like progressive liberal enviro city, and he used to bike to stuff all the time. Like, why
Mm.
can't you just bike in the parade?
Mhm.
How many parades were actually in your district that were more than 3 blocks long? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
That was one of my all-time favorites. As someone who lives in Georgia during 2022, I don't know if you recall seeing the articles about the Stacey Abrams TikTok house.
No, what is that?
So I am not on the TikTok, but I understand that there are things called hype houses where a bunch of TikTokers get together and like shoot videos with each other and stuff like that.
Mm.
At least that's what I saw mocked on an episode of SVU one time. That's my whole understanding of it. But they used donor money to rent a house to the tune of, I think it was like 12,000 plus dollars a month to hire social media influencers to make videos for the campaign and then didn't use it.
Oh, shit.
Um,
Oh.
so, far be it from me to comment on another campaign manager strategy. As someone who is very anti TikTok in general, like most elder millennials, I get all my reels from Instagram.
Mhm.
Um, the fact that not only did they rent this house, they rented it in a very expensive, like $12,000 a month, in a very expensive neighborhood in Atlanta, only to though go forgotten or change strategy. Apparently, the lease break fee might have been too much. I'm not sure, but that will forever go down as one of the headlines of 2022.
Did they have the house for the duration of the campaign or just a few
Um,
months?
if I recall correctly, they ended up getting it in like the summer
Mhm.
of the campaign of 2022, and then I want to say they had it till at least October. Don't quote me on that, but that's when I remember the strategy change. Um,
Wow. Jeez. Did people stay there? Do you know did the story say? I've not seen this story.
I never saw anything about anyone staying there. All the news stories, because I went back through this morning,
Mhm.
try to figure out if I could like find some reels that were filmed there or something like that. And all of the stories I found said they either barely used it or like nothing went public.
Oh, wow.
Um, so that's one of my most recent favorite uses of donor money.
Mhm.
Um, and then, I mean, I think my third favorite is the classic Lauren Boebert reimbursing herself $20,000 in mileage. Because for those of you who don't know, if candidates make expenditures from their own personal bank accounts, they can pay themselves back from their campaign accounts as long as it is a legitimate expense. And candidates can reimburse themselves at the federal mileage rate, um, which I believe at the time I want to say was like 56 cents a mile, something like
Mm,
that.
mhm.
So thousand plus dollars divided by 56 cents a mile. As someone who lived in Colorado and has done extensive driving through Colorado, I'm just wondering how she had time to do literally anything else because she would be on the road, I think, 20 hours a day, something like that. That was that was one of my like. I appreciate the audacity and everything I saw. I tried to follow up and see what the Colorado Elections Commission and the FEC were doing about this, and all I could see was they started investigations to see
Oh.
whether or not those were legitimate, but I could not find any follow-up as to what had actually happened.
Well, of course not. It's the FEC, right? FEC is like toothless at the moment. Like there's no enforcement mechanism, is my understanding, for like years though, right?
I was gonna say, has there ever really been?
I don't think so. I mean, they certainly do send letters if they think that your reports look weird. Because I saw quite a few of those last year to some of our local committees.
But it's just like not only the FEC, state by state, as I go through people's reports every quarter, some every month, the amount of actual attention paid when you can go through someone's report and you're like, that looks dodgy.
Hmm.
There's a candidate in Texas who I went through his report for the first half of the year earlier this year, and he ate at the same barbecue restaurant every single day. So his donor money was just going to buy him lunch every single day. I think he might
Oh,
have skipped like Sundays, but you just go down the line in the expenditures. And like, I guess technically, if you talked about the campaign during lunch, it counts. But there's very little oversight in a lot of places versus some states like Florida. If your stuff is not in by 11:59 p.m., you are getting fined the next day.
oh, no
All of
shit.
your fines are publicly recorded. And they will send you every single day a letter that you are late or this is wrong. Um, but it's also funny because you go in and you look at the Florida campaign finance system and you're like, this looks like straight out of Office 97. Um, um, there's
Yeah. In Texas, somebody actually has to file a complaint in order for them to move on it, is the way that I've been seeing it play out. So there's a lot of, there's one particular like Republican operative who will go through Democratic filings and file complaints like here and there. Not super often, but that's what he does.
I low-key joke that my dream job is to be an FEC enforcer
You'd be really good at it.
just because 'cause I'm petty as hell, and I'd be going through, "Explain this, explain this, explain this."
Yeah, I wish people understood and like really like had higher standards of professionalism for campaign finance and like compliance and I don't know, just putting a fucking disclaimer on anything. Like that was probably one of the most egregious things that I saw when I got to Texas. Like, put a disclaimer, please. If it's federal, put a little box around it. That's kind
Well,
of simple.
it's like the rules, even if you go to, like, the Secretary of State's website, the Election Commission's website, the rules are usually fairly standard and well explained. And every single state I have worked in, regardless if it's been run by Republicans or Democrats, if you call them and ask questions, they're very nice to you because they don't
Hmm.
want to do any more work than you do. So they'd rather have you do it right the first time.
Hmm.
But yeah, some of the stuff people get away with is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, and the especially in places like in red states, not just Texas, but you have somebody like Ken Paxton, that's sitting in the AG's office that can weaponize the office. I mean, I can't like impress or like underline the urgency anymore than like just follow the law. Like don't even like hire a lawyer to see how far you can like just ask, is this legal? And if not, are there ways to like get what I want?
It's not hard. People have been manipulating the system since the dawn of electoral politics in the United States and
Yeah.
probably other countries and their electoral systems.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not gonna get any better anytime soon. It's just gonna get exponentially worse.
I did think it was interesting now that you mentioned red states. As I was going through, I kind of wanted to brush up on my campaign finance limits earlier because I had no idea there were so many states that had unlimited limits
Mm.
for statewide and state legislative offices.
Mhm.
But out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 that I found, 9 of them are solidly red states. I don't know why Alabama needs unlimited contribution limits because I didn't think elections there were that expensive. Maybe I need to do a little bit more research, and you'll excuse the dogs in the background. It is almost
Cute.
time for them.
Oh, that's right, you have a new foster.
Yes. If anyone here is interested in adopting a dog, her name is Flippaz. She's
Nice.
available through DeKalb County Animal Services. She is currently sleeping in my guest room. She is decompressing from 8 months in the shelter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's been a doll, though.
I bet.
She
That's so
barked at people one day,
cute.
and now he's scared of her.
You should do like a new like little social account for your fosters
I probably will at some point.
or just for Pickle. So if y'all don't know, Kimberly has the cutest dog named Pickle. Sorry, love on your dog a little bit.
You should. I did reserve an Instagram handle for him. I just need to actually, like, post to it. Maybe that'll be my
So photogenic. I even have a little pickle calendar that's sitting right over there on my kitchen cabinet or kitchen little whatever shelf.
resolution for 2026 is to turn my dog into an Instagram influencer.
Yeah, you should.
Sorry, I'm going through. I just need to grab my notes because I was very excited about making my top 10 campaign finance pet peeves earlier, and it fell on the floor.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any other? Those were your top three examples, right? We were just going through three.
Those were my top 3. As I was going through various people's reports, because the whole concept of champagne finance came up however many years ago when it used to be a holiday for me whenever FEC reports were posted quarterly, when I would pop a bottle of wine with my roommates and just go through our opponents' reports and be like, what stupid shit did they spend money on now? The most egregious thing is probably consultant salaries.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when it's consultants you have perhaps worked with before and
Mhm.
said $15,000 a month to hop on a
Mhm.
Zoom call 1 hour a week. That's impressive.
I can't like intellectually, I can't do the gymnastics around it. Like I can't. Like I've been in this industry for so long and I can't do it. I can't.
I every single time I brought this up with a fundraiser that I like know, love, have worked with and respect, like people I will send business to, every single one of them is like doing okay because their client lists are full because they're very good at their jobs. But every single one says, I wish I had the grifter gene. I could just sit back and collect, $5,000 a month from X number of candidates and just sell them the same list that I sell every other candidate, like a lot of people do.
Hmm.
But then I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
Yeah. I really don't know how they do it.
I don't, again, I wish I had the grifter gene. I don't know how they do it, but I also still look at my student loan balance every month and think, maybe? Oh, top 10 campaign finance pet peeves. The first three are about email. I will say, caveat, I did not include anything about texting because, again, that's a whole nother rant for another day. And I tell candidates I don't touch it. I have no interest in it. I have unsubscribed from about 6 just today alone.
Yeah.
Um, but there are certain people who know how to make it work. I am not one of them. But the first one is lazy emails. And this is targeted at a specific firm who works for a specific candidate that or a specific entity that almost all of us are subscribed to. That last cycle, I started collecting, I would screenshot every single time I got the exact same email from the exact same sender with the exact same verbiage. Literally all I did was hit like resend weekly for 3 months.
Great.
And these people got paid a lot of money to do that. And again, I wish someone had taken 30 seconds to like change the sender or change the subject line, highlight something different this time. But again, as a writer, as well as a fundraiser, like I'm insulted. Like every time I've been able to write an email program, I say I write the kinds of emails I would actually want to read. And you usually get a better engagement and a better response rate when they're actually interesting. And you can keep someone's eyes long enough to actually get to the ask line. I mean, I tell people all the time, one of the most successful fundraising emails I ever wrote was entitled Shameless Puppy Photos.
Yeah.
Our field director had just gotten a puppy he was bringing to the office, and we're just like, everyone needs to see this. So we just wrote a cute thing about, his legislative priorities are more parks in the city and like a milk bone in every dish.
Hmm.
And not only did we have the best response that cycle in terms of number of contributions, amount of contributions, we reactivated a number of old donors. Also, a bunch of people responded and sent me pictures of their dogs. And I'm like, this is the greatest day at work ever.
That's sweet.
And again, there are, probably hundreds of thousands out of work English majors who will write your email program for very cheap. My second one is fake FEC deadlines in emails, because we've all seen we have a very important month-end deadline. We have a very important weekly deadline, but there are some candidates who will have firms that literally say, we have a very important FEC deadline on Thursday. I'm like, it's the 17th of July. No, you don't. You report quarterly. Because to me, that's kind of treating your audience like idiots. Like, granted, the vast majority of people do not know when campaign finance deadlines are in federal, much less statewide and regional races, but they're not hard to Google. So again, you can say we have an internal deadline, we have a campaign deadline, very important, we need to get stuff on TV deadline, but to call it an FEC deadline grates my nerves so badly. Number 3, candidates immediately hopping on trends. I don't know if you recall, Elizabeth Warren's dog went viral for like eating a burrito or something. And immediately all the candidates, because people responded so well to it, because dogs are adorable, everyone's like, oh my God, you have to see my dog. My dog's going to send an email. The email's going to be from my dog. And it's like once one person does it and has like a moderate amount of success, everyone just kind of like beats the entire concept to death. I'm like, this is so inauthentic for you. Especially candidates where it's just like, oh, it's from the baby. I'm like, I didn't even know you had kids. Like, this is completely new information. I'm very weirded out as to like why you are doing this thing this way that is completely unrelated to anything else you've done this entire cycle to date. Number 4, I guess we could sell this for last, is selling your donor lists.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand why people do it. A lot of times it's to retire campaign debt. If you've raised a lot of money, it can be a great way to pad your campaign accounts. But in a world where most of us have had the same phone number since like 2006, unless you're my mother, getting passed from one donor list to another. And then the person you sell it to sells it to someone else, who sells it to a firm, who sells it to 37 people. And I don't know if it's my just being old school thing, but I've always had way better luck with lists that I have produced myself, that I've done the
Mhm.
research into, than something I've just gotten handed to me from another person. And that goes for firms that sell donor lists as well. Because remember, if you're buying a donor list from one person, they have sold it to at least 100 other people. But number 5 is candidates overinflating the values of in-kinds to pad their numbers. I will point to one candidate in specific that I knew of that had their unpaid intern create a Wix site or some kind of template website for them and said it was worth about $10,000 worth of professional web design services. Again, I had one candidate who a friend of hers was a florist and like some floral design for an event or whatever. Well, she normally charges $800 for that, but I think we can put it at 3,500 for the
Mhm.
in-kind service. And it's
Yeah,
just like,
I feel like I saw a lot of that in Virginia. Lots of in-kind services, what I would think are hyperinflated numbers. And what was always frustrating is that when people were reporting out on numbers, they wouldn't distinguish between what in-kind was and what was actually raised.
that is a separate pet peeve for a whole nother list I need to start. But people who report out on just the total and don't look at like the candidate loaned themselves $500,000.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and in-kinds were worth this amount. And like the math don't be mathin'.
Yeah.
I think number 6 technically ties down to numbers 1, 2, and 3. But I don't know if you recall the great Tumblr account emails from the D triple.
No. Oh my gosh. Refresh my memory here.
w- I'm trying to remember what cycle it was. I want to say 2014 because that's how far back my memory goes. Um, but there was a trend at the time of email programs being like, "Oh my God, the world is going to end, and we're all going to end up being sold into human slavery, and they're gonna burn your children alive if you don't give us $3 by midnight." Um, and kind of like the gratuitous catastrophizing. But they would send you so many of those emails every single day that there's a great
Uh,
mo-
I do remember this. Gosh.
account
It makes me
basically
feel
being like, Big Bird is going to come to your house and steal all your groceries, and you're going to starve out on the street if you don't give us $6 by 12/27.
yeah.
Um, so that is another. Again, this goes back to the whole writer thing, the whole um, fundraiser thing. We've all seen it before. I'd love to get more data on like the actual returns from those because I cannot
Mhm.
imagine that it is good enough to justify doing this instead of trying something new.
Mhm. And now it's just, I don't see it too often, but I used to see it quite a bit where the email subject line sound like every single email sounds like it's your boyfriend breaking up with you or your partner breaking up with you.
We need to,
Yeah,
we need to
we
have
need
a
to talk.
serious conversation about how your life is going. Uh,
One more chance. One more chance.
my next one is candidate specific, not taking no for an answer when pledge chasing. My personal rule is someone says, yes, I will give you $1,000. We do 7 touches of follow-ups via, phone call, email, in person, whatever it happens to be. And then you just kind of let it go. And you make peace with the fact that that money's not going to come in, or we'll do a sweep at the end of the quarter and try to get that then. But I've had instances where candidates were like, that person promised me $10,000. Well, his wife just died, so we're not going to call him back. Like literally last week.
Mhm.
Um, or I wanna say this was the same candidate. At the end of quarter, they called them every single day for 10 days in a row,
Oh my god.
and I'm like, "That person is never gonna pick up the phone for you ever again."
Wow.
Um, like, at a certain point, you just need to make peace with that. Not saying you shouldn't do everything in your power to collect, because as a
Mhm.
fundraiser, I'm never gonna turn down money that has already been promised to me, but for the sake of being a decent human being, learn to let it go and call a different list.
Yeah, I had a donor one time, and so far I've stuck to this like pretty good. She told me even if somebody tells you no, ask them 3 more times and then let it go. So far, it's been pretty good.
Well, that's what I tell candidates when I'm doing trainings, like, try to
Mhm.
figure out if it's a no or if it's a not right now.
Yeah.
Because if it's a no, I hate you, then make peace with that. But if it's a no, I'm supporting your primary opponent, or no, I just had to pay $2,000 for my kids' track fees. Like,
Mhm,
that's a conversation we can circle up with and ask again.
mhm,
Um, but if someone, again, says no 3 times, like, they don't wanna give to you. Like,
mhm.
let them go about their day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip what I have on number 8 and circle back to that. And the next one is candidates who think they're different and that they're going to raise all of their money via email, and their
Mhm,
names are not Bernie Sanders.
mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, you say that on trainings now, right? Like on your
I
fundraising
have a slide
training.
on it. I have a slide on it. The number of candidates who are actually able to capture the cultural zeitgeist and, like, go viral and have people from all over the country, like, "Yes, I've never lived in your place, but I wanna give you money." I think in the past 10 years, I can list them on one hand,
Mhm.
but the number of candidates who, after 2016, latched onto that $27, and they're like, "Well, Bernie Sanders did it. We're gonna run a grassroots campaign and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, again, I'd have to look at the actual data as to how many of those people who I've worked with or known of over the years actually ended up successful, but I cannot think of any of the hundreds of candidates in my mental Rolodex right now.
Yeah, same.
And it ultimately just comes down to candidates who don't wanna do the work because it's
Mhm.
never fun to call people on the phone and ask for money. It feels gross, especially when you look at the outrageous amounts of money that campaigns cost. You're like, "We could feed children with that or build low-cost housing or fix our roads," but the reason we preach the basics is because it works. But by all means, if anyone is able to prove me different, has an idea that I haven't thought of yet, please let me know. I'm always looking to learn new things. I guess we'll call it number 9 now. People who don't know the difference between a PAC and a super PAC.
Oh my god, preach. Go on.
The number of times I'm out with lay people who are like, "Oh, well, that person's has millions of dollars from super PACs." No, they don't. A super PAC is a completely independent expenditure who has no technically, legally cannot have any connection with the campaign. How much money they have is not how much money the candidate has in his bank account. He is not spending the money. She is not spending the money. They are not spending the money. Um, and especially, I think a lot of candidates run into this when they say they do the no corporate PAC money pledges. Um, and I wanna say some do it out of ignorance, some do it kind of intentionally to blur the lines because the automatic thought is super PAC dirty money, which it is, but they say, "Oh, I'm not taking any corporate PAC money," and they try to make it seem like it's super PAC money, because it gives them, the moral high ground. And by all means, people are well able to live their values. I have accepted checks from that I now feel dirty about, or people I just flat out would not take money from, but kind of the intentional misleading of that drives me insane. And also, I mean, we need better civics classes in this country anyway.
Yeah. I'm raising for a couple of projects right now, and there's one I went through like my entire personal Rolodex to call people, and there was one person in my cell phone contact list that is a former state senator who was beaten by a pro-choice woman, by the way. And I was like, should I ask this person for money? They have like a lot of like capacity to give, but I was like, no, no, I'll take from oil and gas or whatever, but I definitely will not take from a sexual predator.
I know exactly
I
who you're
draw
talking
the
about.
draw the line. But I have like like at least once every few months I'll get this random text message from this person because I knew them from back when I was around in that state's politics. And it's like, dude, I haven't written you back in, I don't know, 4 years. Like, maybe get the hint. Like, leave me alone.
I mean, is it like a give me money text or is it like a you up text?
No, yeah, exactly. It's, "How are you doing? Haven't talked to you in so long. Are you coming, out to this place where they're at, um, anytime soon?" And it's like, "No."
Just
And
respond new number, who dis?
yeah, I know, and it's like, "Why would I even tell you? You're weird." But, such is life.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've cashed oil and gas checks. I've cashed big pharma checks, probably money from people who at this point are like invested in AI and things that I don't believe in and who are destroying the environment. But they got me to the point where I needed to get my candidates elected. So I can't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, I don't and let me know if you hear differently because you're a lot closer to like all the fundraising chatter. There've been so many different times where people actually Virginia is a really good example where there's like this fight between the Clean Virginia people who are like anti-energy company, Dominion, and you can't take certain types of money. I just haven't heard anybody give a shit about it. Like on the ground, like when you talk to everyday voters, I mean, sure, you can probably get like a press article out of it or something, but I just don't think anybody cares. Like I made this joke one time, and I'll say it here, but I made this joke one time. I was like, I feel like I could fund a program like with OnlyFans money and like nobody would give a shit. I mean, like I really don't think anybody cares like where money comes from. I think we're at that point.
I 100% agree. I mean, wasn't there a candidate a couple of cycles ago who used to be a dancer? And she's like, yeah, my startup funds for my campaign came from dancing.
Oh, really? I don't remember that. I
Um,
mean, there have been a couple of exotic dancers that have been I think there was a congressional candidate, right? Like in okay, like in Pennsylvania?
again, if the money is green and it was obtained legally, and the appropriate taxes have been paid, I really don't care where your money comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think too.
Which kind of leads us to number 10,
That's number 10.
which is stop asking me for rich people's phone numbers.
I know, there's so many they get so many calls and messages, like
Also, if you're at a point where your race would catch the attention of, you know, the mega donor class, they don't take your calls directly. They have donor advisors. I may have their direct cell phone number. I'm sure as shit not going to give it to you because that's going to ruin my relationship with them. But also, you can find this information if you know where to look. People underestimate how much of their personal information is available in the corners of the internet if you know where to look or if you
yeah,
have access to the right databases. But I guess we'll call that like 10.5 is people who ask me for lists in general. When they haven't, I'm like, have you called on Ida yet? Have you called your eighth grade math teacher? No. Why would I give you insert X number of millionaires' phone numbers when you're not doing the work?
yeah. I really think people underestimate the power of your own personal network. I called somebody from that I haven't talked to in, like, maybe 5 years, and they gave me $500. It's like, "That's awesome. That's great." Like, and they
It's
answered my phone call.
like I tell people all the time, like, unless you like slept with their boyfriend in high school, or you stole their husband, or you like crashed their car, or you accidentally like ran over their dog, even if people aren't like thrilled to hear from you, they'll at least hear you out. And people always say, like, oh, there's no money in my personal network. I'm like, there is if you're willing to do the work. Because
Mhm.
I mean, you and I could both name numerous candidates who have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in like 50, 100, $200 increments. They busted their asses to do it, but it's like, "Oh, this is my cousin. My cousin has access to these people." Or like, "Oh, this was my, my college graduate thesis advisor who
Mhm.
introduced me to all these people," and it kind of all works out from there. But if I, you know, win the Mega Millions on Saturday or the Powerball, and someone called me and said, "Oh, I just launched my race for Congress," I'm not gonna give them money. To me, you're willing to do the work, um,
Mhm.
because this also cycles back into the grifter conversation, where
Mhm.
it's not only consultants, but there's also, like, perennial candidates who
Yeah.
run for office multiple times in ways that allow them to personally enrich themselves. So, you need to prove to me and to the donor class that you're willing to do the work, um, and not take shortcuts. And
Yeah.
also, the minute you ask me for a list, I'm gonna stop responding to your emails.
Yeah, I'm gonna add one, um, and that's don't expect institutions, including it doesn't matter if it's a state level or a national level PAC, to save your campaign. Like, you have to do call time because it doesn't matter which PAC it is, like, they're gonna ask you how your fundraising is going and, like, all the things about your operation to make sure that you're a worthwhile investment, so
Like,
prioritize call time.
if you're not willing to do the work for yourself, why should other people be willing to spend their time and money to do it for you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like,
come on, people, pick up the phone. I know it's hard. We'll practice.
it's just like when you were a kid and you needed help with your homework, and your parents are like, all right, well, you have to start it. And if you need help, I'll help you. But I'm not going to sit here and do the entire thing for you.
Yeah,
Any money that comes from the sky, the institutional money is great. It's gravy. We're delighted to have it, but your money should have been out the door already before it even lands. Like your
yeah,
money should have been in the door and then out already.
yeah.
But no, all of these, I mean, I think that the PAC conversation also ties back to grifters because there are so many PACs showing up nowadays that are just like, "Oh, your executive director is making a lot of money."
Yeah,
Um, you have some very strange expenditures.
I know.
Um, they know who they are.
So, to wrap things up, what advice would you give to, I don't know, like a first time candidate that's running for any race as they're diving into the very scary world of fundraising? What's the most important thing that they should keep in mind?
Um, I honestly think the most important thing you should keep in mind is everyone in the world is going to want to give you advice. You don't have to listen to it.
That is solid advice. That is really, really good advice.
Because the number of times we've heard, "Well, my husband's CEO says I should do this, and he has a lot of money, so he must know what he's doing," or, "This candidate who ran 20 years ago and has not had a competitive race since thinks I should do this." I'm like, "Cool, call me back when they know what they're doing."
Yeah. I'm gonna drag you back to Texas and to come beat that drum to lots of candidates who are running now.
What is the whole "opinions are like assholes, everyone has one"? Uh,
Oh my goodness.
like, politics affect our everyday lives, so if you're paying the most minute amount of attention, you have an opinion on it. But this ties back to what I said earlier. High school civics classes are being, slashed left, right, and center. People don't
Mhm.
even know who their state legislators are. They don't know, you know, spring versus fall elections. So maybe their opinions on how you should run your race and be a good steward of your donors' money.
Mhm.
It's not.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And reminder to everyone to subscribe to My First Race on wherever you get your podcast, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or I don't know, whatever. Give us 5 stars. And Kimberly, I don't think you have a social media account, but and you don't have pickles up yet. Is there like a social media account that you would encourage people to follow?
If you want to see cute pictures of my dog, it's at Worms Scare Me on Instagram, worms with a Z.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us and for giving us all of the tips on campaign finance.